Hello, I'm George English, the Director of Research Through People. So we make these videos to try and bring to life what your ancestors' story might be like, depending on where they came from. So this time we're focusing on Edinburgh in Scotland and the area around that, known as the Lothians, the counties. And what we want to do is not only talk about that, but if your ancestors came from there, give you an idea of what their life might have been like and help to bring them to life. So here's a map of Edinburgh and the Firth of Forth, you can see there, famous river. So essentially it's on the east side of Scotland, and the county that it's in is now called Mid Lothian. It used to be called the county of Edinburgh. And to the left you can see Linlithgow, and to the right Haddington, and they both gave their names to counties. So you can see at the bottom that East Lothian now is what Addingtonshire is called, and West Lothian is what Linlithgowshire is called. So Edinburgh's got a great history going back many centuries. It's been a royal borough for ages. It became the capital of Scotland since 1452. You may have heard stories of the Stone of Destiny, again a bit of history that's so important, and more listed buildings than anywhere else in the United Kingdom. That's the past. Now, Princes Street is probably the street that most people think of, with the castle up above it, and the new town. I'll show you a map in a moment about that. Every year in the summer there's the Edinburgh Festival and the Tattoo, where people come from all over the world. A little bit of history. Every day at the castle there's a gunshot at 1 o'clock. Harry Potter, very famous. J.K. Rowling wrote the first Harry Potter book in Edinburgh. It's a great place to visit, even if you don't have ancestors from there. If you do, it adds something really special. Now, old maps are very interesting. Here's Edinburgh in 1780. And I mentioned the castle. There's the castle, the Holyrood Palace where the monarchy lived, and the Royal Mile, literally almost exactly a mile between the two. Now what's interesting, it was very crowded. Even well-to-do people living in near the castle or whatever were pretty cramped. So someone said, why don't we build a new town the other side of what was actually then a river? So the new town was built there. You can see on Princes Street, which is now so well known, is there. And the interesting thing about this map, the new town is just starting to be built. You can see the houses at the east end of what has now become the new town. And if we zoom in a bit more, of course with our records, they're held by parishes. So here's the various parish names which you may come across with your records, and there's the castle. Saint occurred in a number of them, St Cuthbert's, St John's, and in the new town that was carried on, St George's, St Andrew's, St Stephen's. So maybe your ancestors lived in these places. So let's look at some examples. Here's the Richardson and Grandison family. So the son there is born in St Andrew, Edinburgh. Father's Joseph Richardson, so he's born in St George in 1876. Janet Grandison, who he married, was born in Portobello, just to the east of Edinburgh. Going back in time, in fact, Joseph's father Robert was born in Manchester and clearly had come to Edinburgh at some time. Married Isabella Connolly, who was from St Cuthbert's. On the Grandison side, they were Newton in County of Edinburgh, as I mentioned beforehand, now Mid Lothian, and Mother Mary in Duddingston, again just outside Edinburgh. And going back another generation, there's the Connollys. In fact, they originally came from Ireland, but living there in Lasswade, and Isabella born in Canongate, and the Grandisons come farther afield, and Haddingtonshire to the east, and the county of Edinburgh is called. Now, an interesting thing we do, we look at what were the occupations, what did they do? So interesting, Robert Richardson was a musician, and he actually went to London before he came to Edinburgh, and his son Joseph became an artist. The Connolly side, James was a printer, and then we see on the Grandison side a bit different. Coal miner, a carter. Carter tended to take the coal around. So let's look at this in a bit more detail, and where did they live? And one of the things we do a map showing where your ancestors live. So if you come, you can go and visit the places. So here we are, there's the castle in Holyrood, and you can see the Richardsons by and large lived in Edinburgh itself, around there, while the Grandisons lived to the east near the Firth of Forth, and there you can see Portobello. So old photos help to bring to life where our ancestors lived. So here is South Clark Street in Newington, where the Richardsons lived. Portobello, very popular with people in Edinburgh. They would go out to swim in Portobello, and you can see the carriages there that people used to change in. Things have changed over the years. Okay, so let's look at another family, the Scotts. And here are George Scott. He's born in Haddingtonshire, just to the east. Marries in Edinburgh, marries Josephine Kennedy in Edinburgh. And going back in time, interesting name, Oldham Stocks. So George marries Jane MacDonald from St Giles in Edinburgh in 1871. And going back in time, there are Richard Scott's from Haddingtonshire as well, but Janet has come up from the borders, from Wigtonshire. William MacDonald has come down from Nairn in the north. Catherine Christie from Perthshire, just a little bit to the north. In this case, what do? Well, Richard Scott was a paperworks messenger. Son George become joiners, so paperworks messenger. So he worked in a paperworks. Well, where? Well, he worked in the Belton Ford paper mill in Dunbar, which was founded in 1865. Hadn't been going long when he worked here. And here's a lovely old black and white photo of the people in the mill. And now the Boswell and Bowie family. Let's start the other end. So there's James Boswell. He's a market gardener, a bit different occupation. So he's from Fife, just to the north, as is his wife Elizabeth. The Bowies are, there's William Bowie from Bowness in Linlithgowshire, that's to the west of Edinburgh, as is Mary Wilson. So, market gardener. So, here's a different occupation. In fact, he worked for Lord Hopetoun at Ormiston Hall. And here's a rather lovely old map which shows fairly clearly the trees and the land around Ormiston Hall which he would have gardened. Going in time, his son became a carter, quite different. Alexander, he's born in Linlithgowshire. He's born to the west of Edinburgh, as is his wife Jean Bowie. Then going forward, James Boswell is born in Ormiston, in fact where Ormiston Hall was, and he dies in New Zealand. So here we've got a family from Edinburgh area, and they emigrate. Of course, quite often we get people from New Zealand, America, Australia, Canada and places who say, will you please research our English, Scottish, British ancestors, although we can research around the world. And here's a rather nice touch. Here is the Boswell family after they've emigrated to New Zealand. Rather lovely when families have these old photos that are being kept, and very often we can bring to life because an individual will have the specific photo. We can help to share that with other family members. So I hope you found that interesting. We've got a whole bunch of other videos, particularly on Scotland. There's one about your ancestors from Scotland in general, one about Glasgow over on the west side, your ancestors from Ayrshire and so on. Please have a look at these videos. They'll give you an idea. And feel free to get back in touch. We're here to help you. We give a free consultation. What we do is ask you to send us details so we can have a look and assess what the opportunities are like and come back to you with options that we suggest and the appropriate fee that's associated with that. We have various packages and so forth. There's details of how to get in touch. Email us at info@researchforthepeople.com. Give us a ring. So very much look forward to hearing from you.